Fanny. Often called the hardest hero to master, Fanny represents the pinnacle of mechanical complexity and the ultimate test of a player's dexterity and game sense. Fanny was one of the early heroes in Mobile Legends, quickly establishing herself as one of the most unique assassins in the game. Unlike most heroes who move with simple directional controls, she introduced a completely new movement mechanic, the cable system. Fanny shoots a cable in a target direction that pulls her to the first obstacle hit. This seemingly simple mechanic requires extraordinary precision and timing to execute effectively. Angles, distances, and trajectories in split seconds. Each cable shot must be perfectly aimed at a wall or obstacle. Miss your target, and you're left vulnerable, often in the worst possible position. Advanced Fanny players can execute multiple cable shots in rapid succession, creating movement patterns that are nearly impossible to predict or counter. This chaining requires not just mechanical skill, but an almost instinctive understanding of geometry and momentum. According to experienced players and guides, Fanny takes months to master, not days or weeks. Many players report spending hundreds of hours in training mode just to develop the muscle memory needed for consistent cable shots. Unlike many assassins who can escape if things go wrong, Fanny's commitment is total. Once you cable in, there's often no turning back. What's particularly interesting is that despite being considered one of the hardest heroes, Fanny remains popular throughout all ranks of play. This speaks to her satisfying gameplay loop and the thrill of successfully executing complex movements that few other heroes can replicate. Chen, the Holy Knight. As a hero who converts neutral creeps to his cause, Chen's difficulty lies his fundamental mechanic, controlling multiple neutral creeps simultaneously. Unlike most heroes who focus only on their own abilities and positioning, Chen players must manage an entire army, with each creep having its own abilities and positioning requirements. Whether to invest in powerful ancient creeps or maintain a more flexible army of standard neutrals, a decision that dramatically impacts his playstyle. Holy Persuasion. This spell allows him to convert neutral creeps to fight for him. But this isn't as simple as it sounds. Effective Chen players must have encyclopedic knowledge of every neutral creep in the game, their abilities, their strengths, their weaknesses, and which situations call for which specific creep. Despite commanding an army, Chen himself is surprisingly vulnerable. With low base health and no escape mechanisms, positioning becomes absolutely crucial. Chen players must balance aggressive positioning to utilize their creep abilities with staying safe enough to avoid being picked off. This creates a fascinating tension. To be effective, Chen needs to be close enough to command his army and use his abilities, but far enough back to avoid danger. Finding this perfect positioning in chaotic teamfights requires exceptional spatial awareness. For those seeking the ultimate challenge in Dota 2, Chen offers a playground for skill expression that few other heroes can match. Earth Spirit, the Stone Commander, introduced to Dota 2 in 2013 as part of the Spirit Brothers update, alongside his brothers Storm Spirit and Ember Spirit. His unique complexity resource system, Stone Remnants. Earth Spirit offers unparalleled playmaking potential. Even a skilled Earth Spirit player can single-handedly control teamfights, save allies from certain death, and initiate from impossible angles. Unlike other heroes who rely on mana or cooldowns alone, Earth Spirit must manage his Stone Remnants, up to 7 of them scattered across the map. These aren't just simple abilities, they're physical objects that interact with all his other skills. What's challenging is that every ability except his ultimate requires a Stone Remnant to function effectively. Without proper placement and management of these remnants, Earth Spirit becomes nearly useless. This creates a mental load that few other heroes must bear. Second, his Rolling Boulder ability allows him to launch himself toward a stone remnant or enemy, damaging and stunning them. Sounds simple, right? But the complexity comes from knowing when to use it for initiation, escape, or positioning, all while managing your remnant placements. Third, Geomagnetic Grip pulls a stone remnant toward Earth Spirit, silencing and damaging enemies it passes through. And then there's Magnetize, arguably one of the most complex ultimate in Dota 2. When cast, Earth Spirit magnetizes himself, causing enemies near him to become magnetized. Magnetized enemies take damage over time, and whenever they're near a stone remnant, they take additional damage and are silenced. Despite his immense difficulty, Earth Spirit offers unparalleled playmaking potential. A skilled Earth Spirit player can single-handedly control teamfights, save allies from certain death, and initiate from impossible angles. Azir.
Shurima, your Emperor has returned.
Released on September 16, 2014, Azir was introduced in the Rift as one of the most challenging champions with his unique gameplay mechanics and high skill ceiling. Even the most skilled players challenged to master it. Unlike most champions who directly attack enemies, Azir commands sand soldiers to fight for him. His primary ability, Arise,
Arise,
summons sand soldiers from the ground, automatically given a point in it at level 1 if players don't choose it themselves. Conquering Sands. Q commands all soldiers to dash to a target location, damaging enemies they pass through. Shifting Sands E allows Azir to dash to one of his soldiers, gaining a shield if he dashes through an enemy. Emperor's Divide R summons a wall of soldiers that pushes enemies aside. What makes this so complex is that players must constantly manage 3 different elements simultaneously: Azir's position, his soldiers' positions, and the cooldowns of his abilities. A single miscalculation can leave Azir completely unable to deal damage or escape danger. Azir demands an almost supernatural level of spatial awareness. Players must track not just where enemies are, but where their soldiers are positioned relative to both enemies and Azir himself. Effective Azir plays requires constantly calculating attack ranges from multiple points simultaneously. Azir represents perhaps the pinnacle of mechanical complexity in League of Legends. Hwei. League of Legends' masterpiece of complexity. As champion number 166, Hwei represents Riot Games' most ambitious design in champion complexity, feature an unprecedented 11 unique active abilities that players must master, demanding the level of mental acuity and mechanical precision. Hwei has unique 3 spellbook system. Unlike traditional champions with fixed abilities, Hwei operates with 3 distinct artistic moods: Disaster, Serenity, and Torment. Each mood contains 3 abilities, accessed through a 2-step input system. Players must first select a mood with Q, W, or E, then press the button again to cast one of 3 abilities within that mood. This creates 9 basic abilities, plus his ultimate, for a total of 10 active abilities to manage. The Disaster spellbook focuses on destructive forces, featuring abilities like Molten Fissure that devastates areas, Severing Bolt that damages and slows enemies, and Devastating Fire for burst damage. The Serenity spellbook provides supportive capabilities with Fleeting Current for movement speed, Pool of Reflection for shielding allies, and Stirring Lights for mana sustain and damage. The Torment spellbook offers crowd control with Gaze of the Abyss that roots enemies, Crushing Maw that pulls and slows foes, and Fading Visions for vision control. Players must constantly track which spellbook they're in, remember the cooldowns shared within each spellbook, and make split-second decisions about which mood to switch to based on the evolving situation. This is compounded by his extremely fragile nature. With low base stats like movement speed and armor, Hwei can be quickly eliminated if caught out of position. Hwei's difficulty is further amplified by his specific weaknesses. He struggles against mobile assassins who can quickly close the distance and eliminate him before he can react. His limited mana pool demands careful resource management throughout the game. The learning curve for Hwei is exceptionally steep. New players must memorize not just what each ability does, but when to switch between spellbooks, how to combo abilities for maximum effectiveness, and how to position safely while managing his complex toolkit. Even experienced League players find themselves overwhelmed initially, with some requiring dozens of games just to grasp the basics. Hel, the goddess of duality. Introduced as one of the first 17 gods in Smite's closed beta back in 2012, Hel has consistently challenged players with her unique dual-nature mechanics that demand mastery of both healing and destruction. Drawing from Norse mythology, Hel is the daughter of the trickster god Loki and rules over the underworld realm also called Helheim. Hel offers a unique playstyle that rewards strategic thinking, mechanical precision, and a deep understanding of the ebb and flow of battle. In light stance, Hel becomes a powerful healer, capable of restoring health to allies and removing debilitating crowd control effects. Her abilities focus on preservation and support, making her invaluable for sustaining teammates through prolonged engagements. Switch to dark stance. Hel transforms into a damage dealer, capable of decaying enemy health and reducing their defenses. In this form, she shifts from preservation to destruction, focusing on weakening opponents and contributing damage to teamfights. This duality requires players to constantly evaluate the state of battle and determine which role is needed at any given moment. The complexity doesn't end there. Hel lacks a traditional ultimate ability, forcing her to rely on perfect management of her stance switching and basic abilities. This means she must constantly cycle between her 2 forms to show her true potential, creating a high mechanical skill ceiling that separates average Hel players from exceptional ones. What truly elevates Hel's difficulty is the rapid decision-making required. A skilled Hel player must constantly assess team health, enemy positioning, cooldown states, and the flow of battle to determine when to heal and when to damage. This micromanagement happens in split seconds during chaotic teamfights where one wrong decision can lead to disaster. The Lost Vikings, Heroes of the Storm's ultimate micro-challenge. The Lost Vikings stand as one of the most unique and mechanically demanding heroes in Heroes of the Storm, requiring skills that no other hero in the game demands. The fundamental challenge begins with the basic premise. You're controlling 3 heroes instead of 1. Each Viking has their own health pool, abilities, and characteristics. Eric is swift with long-range attacks but fragile. Balog deals consistent damage with his sword and bow. Olaf is the tankiest with his shield and stun ability. This tri-hero design creates an immediate cognitive load that no other hero requires. While other players focus on positioning one character, a Vikings player must constantly monitor 3 different positions on the map, 3 different health bars, and 3 different cooldown timers simultaneously. The micromanagement requirements are staggering. Effective Vikings play requires constant switching between characters to keep them safe, position them advantageously, and use their abilities at precisely the right moments. This isn't just challenging, it's mentally exhausting. A skilled Vikings player must know exactly when to split up for maximum experience gain and when to group up for objectives or team fights. This decision-making requires deep game knowledge that only comes with hundreds of matches. Their weakness profile adds another layer of difficulty. Each Viking has lower health than a typical hero, making them extremely vulnerable to burst damage and assassins. Heroes like Zeratol, Falstad, Vala, or Leeming can quickly eliminate individual Vikings, forcing the player to play with extreme caution. The ultimate expression of Vikings mastery comes during objective-based teamfights, where the player must decide whether to keep Vikings split for pressure or group up for impact. These decisions often determine the outcome of entire matches. Despite their complexity, Vikings offer a unique playstyle that rewards strategic thinking and mechanical precision. When played well, they can generate significant advantages through constant map pressure and experience soaking. Aphelios, the Weaponarian of Targon. Aphelios was released in December 2019 as Champion number 150, designed by Riot Games as a high-skill cap marksman for players looking for a challenge. The development team spent over a year perfecting his unique weapon-swapping mechanic, inspired by lunar themes and the concept of a silent warrior who communicates through his actions rather than words. His release was met with mixed reactions. Professional players praised the design complexity, while casual players found themselves completely overwhelmed. Riot intentionally designed him to have one of the highest skill floors in the game, targeting experienced ADC players who had mastered other complex marksmen like Callista and Vayne. Each weapon represents a completely different playstyle. Calibrum is your long-range sniper. Severum provides sustain through lifesteal. Gravitum offers crowd control. Infernum delivers area of effect damage. And Crescendum creates a rotating chakram that enhances his basic attacks. What makes Aphelios truly challenging is the constant mental calculation required. You're not just tracking cooldowns, you're tracking which weapons you have available, which ones are on the queue, how many ammo each has remaining, and which combinations work best in specific situations. Most champions take a few games to learn their basics. Aphelios takes dozens just to understand his weapon combinations, and hundreds to begin mastering them. Even professional players regularly make mistakes with his weapon management after thousands of games on him. Despite these challenges, mastering Aphelios offers a unique satisfaction that few other champions provide. When everything clicks, when you're seamlessly flowing between weapons, landing perfect ability combinations, and carrying teamfights, Aphelios stands as one of League of Legends' most challenging champions, offering a challenge that rewards dedication like no other champion in the game. Master him, and you've truly mastered the art of the marksman. Meepo, the Geomancer. This hero has terrorized pubs and professional play alike since his introduction, and for good reason. Meepo isn't just difficult to play. He's a true test of a player's mechanical skill, game sense, and mental fortitude. Let's explore why this multi-headed monster stands among the most demanding heroes in the game. When Dota 2 launched, Meepo was one of the original heroes ported over, and his complexity only became more apparent in the new engine. Throughout Dota 2's evolution, Meepo has seen numerous changes, but his core identity as a micro-intensive hero has remained constant. In professional play, Meepo has been a tournament-defining pick in the hands of specialists like No-Tail, W33, and Abed. When Meepo is picked in competitive matches, it's often seen as a statement, either a brilliant surprise pick or a risky gamble that can win or lose the game single-handedly. His first difficulty is micromanagement. Meepo's ultimate Divided We Stand creates additional clones of himself. At level 16 with Aghanim's Scepter, you're controlling 5 different heroes simultaneously, each with their own health, mana, experience gain, and item usage. This means you need to control up to 5 different units in different locations on the map, farming multiple lanes, stacking camps, participating in teamfights, and escaping danger, all at the same time. Second difficulty, vulnerability. If any of your Meepos die, they all die. This creates immense pressure, as one mistake or moment of inattention can result in your instant death. There's no room for error when positioning any of your clones. Third, itemization complexity. Unlike most heroes who build one set of items, Meepo needs to manage items across multiple clones. Typically, you'll have your main Meepo with expensive items like Blink Dagger, while your clones carry utility items like Tranquil Boots and Drums of Endurance. Fourth, experience management. Each Meepo gains experience independently and shares it with the others. This means you need to strategically position your clones to maximize experience gain, often sending them to different lanes or jungle camps simultaneously. Fifth, spell management. All Meepos share the same cooldowns for abilities, but each clone can cast them independently. This creates complex decision-making about which Meepo should use which ability and when, especially during teamfights where you might need Earthbinds from multiple directions. Finally, the psychological burden. Playing Meepo requires constant mental multitasking. You're not just playing Dota 2, you're playing 5 games of Dota 2 simultaneously. This mental fatigue can lead to mistakes, especially in long games. But for most players, Meepo remains one of the most challenging and punishing heroes in the game, a true testament to the mechanical complexity that makes Dota 2 such a deep and rewarding competitive experience. Invoker, the Arsenal Magus, a name that strikes fear in the hearts of beginners and demands respect from veterans. He's not just a hero, he's a test of skill, a test of memory, and a test of pure mechanical execution. Let's talk about why Invoker is so difficult, and I mean truly difficult. First, the basics. Invoker has 3 elemental orbs, Quas, Wex, and Exort. Each orb you cast changes your next invoked spell, and you can have up to 3 orbs active at any time. That's 3 elements, 3 slots. The math alone is intimidating. Quas gives you health regeneration and strength. Wex gives you attack speed and movement speed. Exort gives you damage and intelligence. Every single spell you want to cast requires a specific combination of these orbs in a specific order. And here's the thing, there are 10 different spells: Cold Snap, Ghost Walk, Ice Wall, EMP, Tornado, Alacrity, Sunstrike, Forge Spirit, Chaos Meteor, and Deafening Blast. Each one requires a different orb combination. Cold Snap, that's Quas, Quas, Quas. 3 Quas orbs, then Invoke. Ghost Walk, Quas, Quas, Wex. Ice Wall, Quas, Quas, Exort. And it goes on and on. Consider Aghanim's Scepter. Consider Refresher Orb. Each item opens up entirely new possibilities, new combos, new ways to dominate. And let's talk about the mental load. In a team fight, while everyone else is thinking about their 1 or 2 abilities, the Invoker player is thinking about 10. They're tracking cooldowns, they're tracking orb levels, they're tracking mana, they're tracking positioning, they're tracking enemy movements. It's like playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. The cognitive load is immense. So why would anyone put themselves through this? Why would anyone choose to play such a demanding hero? Because when you master Invoker, you become unstoppable. A well-played Invoker can single-handedly win games. He can control the pace of the match. He can outplay anyone. There's nothing quite like landing a perfect Sunstrike on an invisible enemy. There's nothing quite like catching the entire enemy team in a massive Chaos Meteor, followed by a deafening blast. There's nothing quite like the feeling of outplaying your opponent through pure skill and mechanics. Invoker rewards practice. He rewards dedication. He rewards creativity. And that's why he's beloved by so many players. Invoker is more than a hero. He's a challenge. He's a test. He's a statement. If you can play Invoker, you can play anything. He teaches you positioning, timing, mana management, spell combos, and game sense all at once. He's not just a hero. He's a test of skill, a test of memory, and a test of pure mechanical execution.